I hope
Or
not.
you are the hurricane. Welcome back to the Grid Gym, guys. We have Kevin Larrabee here. Kevin Larrabee is founder of FitCast. It's a podcast that you guys should all listen to. Allied Strength, former Boyle strength conditioning coach. We had Coach Boyle on the show the other day. CFSC founder, which is my certification that I use at the moment and that we use for all the Grit Gym staff. He's an instructor of instructors. He's a huge nerd and he's a weird dude and he's the best of ways. Kevin, can you kind of introduce yourself a little bit to the Grit Gym crowd or the Grit Gym crowd?
Well, first, Adam, thank you so much for having me on, but I think you did a really good job of the introduction. It's going to be, I mean, I'm just not proud or happy about following up Mike Boyle. That's a hard man to follow. But I'm sure we'll have a good chat. And yeah, you're right. I think that's the other thing people don't know about me too much is I am a gigantic nerd. Like I was playing PlayStation earlier today in between sessions of work. So that's kind of how I roll.
Hey, that's cool. I mean, if that's what you do, that's what you do. You know?
It is. I was hanging out in Japan through my PlayStation 3, hanging out with some friends. So.
Instagram, like you're learning you're learning the language, right?
Yeah, I've been spending about 5 to 6 hours a week learning Japanese with like with anything that you want to get better at. I have a coach. I have a teacher that I get on Skype with twice a week for an hour. Plus I go through I have homework just like we did in high school and college. And it's something that I've really wanted to do for a long time, but it's actually it's been a really good analogy to strength and conditioning and coaching and what we do. Because we sometimes forget the value of a coach or really the reward and the wins that you can get from learning new skills and achieving something on a regular basis. So it's been a cool thing to be able to do.
Yeah. Well, with a coach, like going back to the being a student, because like I don't know, I think you're kind of like me that you as the coach, you're always the student, and as the student, you're kind of a coach. Like being on the receiving end of it with something that I'm going to take a wild guess that it's new.
Yeah, it's new and it's also really challenging. I think it's been, it's been a really weird experience because my teacher has been incredibly patient. It's one of the harder languages to learn because it's not like with Spanish, you at least have like a Romanized alphabet, like you have ABC, EFG, all that stuff. In Japanese, you actually have to learn characters. So you have to learn new symbols that are corresponding to different sounds. And you even need to learn symbols that are actually, they actually have meanings or they have like an idea, like for a village or for a town, it actually like looks like a village, which is kind of weird. That's the kanji, but it's just a reminder that, it's never a bad thing as a coach to have patience for the people that you're working with and to always really celebrate the small victories that come along the way. Because, I've been lifting for a long time and I know you've been lifting for a long time. At some point, you stop really having huge victories in the gym on a regular basis. Like you can only do so many chin-ups or whatever, and then you just kind of hit at some sort of peak, right?
Or like, you saw like even learning, like at first it's really fun because you have epiphany after epiphany.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're just like, I haven't had an epiphany in like a year.
Okay, that's an even better analogy because I mean it's tougher when you go to Perform Better summits, like after you've gone to them for the last 10 years and you've kind of seen a lot of these ideas. It's always great to see the speakers and hear those concepts again and see the evolution of a lot of this stuff. But it almost brings me back to when I first started getting into fitness. Like I was reading everything I could get my hands on. Like I wanted to see every new program on T Nation because this was different than the other program that I saw before. Like what makes this one better? What makes it worse? So there was all these, constant pieces where you were learning something new or like, oh, this is a completely different avenue. I didn't even know about creatine. Like I needed to know everything I can about creatine. I didn't know about whey protein. I didn't know about, all these different things in terms of like whether it's nutrition or programming or sports performance. Like there were all these avenues where I could go down to just be obsessive, learn everything I possibly could about it. But then you kind of have just you kind of run out a little bit. You just have smaller and smaller victories along the way, but that's why we continue to learn, I guess.
Yeah, that's one of the things. We just got back from our conference, and one of the overwhelming messages that I took away from it was like how hard it is to go. Like when you already know so much, and you've learned and you've read everything, going from that like 90 to 91. Right. When you're at 12, it's easy to go to 13, but when you're at 13, you got to push it up to that next 91. It's like God, it's hard.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing it's maybe this is a bad analogy, but it's like filling up a tire. You know, the fuller and fuller it gets, like the harder it is to put that air in. So yeah,
I like,
so exactly. So it's not to say that I don't continually learn new things from coaches out there. There's absolutely, it's always one of the best benefits of working at NBSC was constantly getting in guest speakers that would really open your eyes to just new ideas and new concepts. But I do miss the past where I would just be like salivating over learning about ACL recovery. Like that's all I wanted to learn about for the next like 2 months. So I'd look at all the research. I'd go buy every DVD. I'd get every PDF. But it's good once you have a foundation of knowledge. It's just refinement. It's trying to get a little bit better and learn a little bit more, find a couple better techniques, and make sure that you're continually like doing the best job as a coach to help the people that come to you.
yeah, that's a really good point. And I think it's kind of easy to underestimate how well you need to know some things.
Right.
Like when it comes to health and strength and conditioning, the responsibility on our shoulders for what people are asking us help with it's insane, and people are like, oh, it's just exercise. It's not.
No, I look at it this way. I think, they're literally putting their lives in our hands. Like we're not surgeons, we're not doctors, but a great example of this is like my stepdad, who's works his ass off. He's in his 60s. He probably works 60 hours a week, but ever since I opened up Allied Strength, he's been coming to the gym 2 or 3 times per week, and since he's dropped 20 pounds. He's doing push-ups with band resistance to the ground. He's doing chin-ups, and he's turning 65 in 2 months. And like that's the thing where I look at it as, you know what, like it's not just him losing 20 pounds. It's adding years to his life. It's more years that I get to spend with him.
Quality years too. He can fit quality into the years that he does have.
Exactly. Let's keep people. I would love to put retirement homes and nursing homes out of business. Like the whole idea of like, Dan John says it really well, live long, drop dead. Like we should be trying to improve quality of life for folks. But, we all know it's not about, people always come to us to lose weight. 90% of the people come to us for that. But after a couple weeks, after a couple months, they will realize, why they're really doing it. It's to feel better. It's to move better. It's to not have that low back pain or that hip pain they've been dealing with for years, to run around with their kids, to have the energy to go on the European vacation they've always wanted to go on. Like it's all those other things that are really the big difference. And I think we have potentially the most important job in healthcare.
Oh, 100%. We are the front line.
You're right. We're the front line, and we're seeing it. And again, like this sounds like we have massive egos saying this, but I think it's one way you have to look at it though, because even when we talk about in sports performance with athletes, when we're seeing these like epidemic rates and injuries in middle school and high school athletes, when we're seeing 12-year-olds get Tommy John surgery because their dad wanted them to throw 400 curveballs a week, like we need to make sure. And this is the thing, like I try to, it's been weird because now that I'm actually talking to coaches and I'm trying to almost like educate the sports performance community around me, because it's not just about getting stronger. It's about keeping kids on the field. Number one, that's going to help them get to where they want to go, because you can't get better. You can't be in front of those scouts if you're hurt, if you're off the field. And you know
can't your sport. You can't have fun playing because you didn't play.
Exactly. So like, I try to, that's why I even emphasize like with the sports performance program at my gym, like I know you guys want to hear me say you're going to get faster, you're going to get stronger, you're going to be able to jump higher, you're going to be able to throw harder. Of course you're going to be able to do that. But the way I also like to look at it is, you're not going to have that nagging injury that's going to last throughout the season. You're not going to miss. Like think about if you or a female soccer player, you're a sophomore in high school and you're really good. Like you have the skills. You definitely have the skills to be able to go and play in college. But say if you in between your sophomore and your junior year, you start feeling that way, your parents feel that way, your coaches feel that way. All right. So now when it gets to the winter, you're playing indoor soccer. You're at that point where you're playing soccer year round, and that's all you do. You see this in hockey as well, right? So then due to just fatigue, just never having an off season and continuously playing soccer, you tear your ACL and then you have to miss your whole junior year. Like that's 25% of their high school career. That is the prime time for when, scouts and coaches are going to watch them.
Everybody thinks you get picked up your senior year. You don't get picked up your senior year. You get picked up your junior year.
No, especially especially for spring sports. Like, thankfully, like soccer is a fall sport, but for spring sports, who's going to look at you your spring year of your senior year and be like, oh man, let's hope they didn't sign at a college yet. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, and really, I mean, you might even go to their sophomore year. They're probably, they're eyeing some specs on you.
But like even those injuries like that, like we know the statistics when it comes to ACL and MCL injuries, especially with female athletes. But we're seeing it with male athletes, especially with overhead sports like baseball, and we're seeing it in sports even more so now. We're seeing it in swimming, like it's epidemic shoulder injuries in swimming as well, where like they're basically just left with the outliers. They're left with the kids that are just kind of sort of freaks of nature because their bodies are built to take that kind of unnecessary toll,
where durability becomes more important than ability.
Exactly.
It's kind of a wild thing, and I think that you're seeing that in general population too. Like I consider everybody to be an athlete on some level. The general population, like you look at I know you said no call outs, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but you look at some of these like kind of, let's call them systems that program in just like crazy high volumes with and everybody's
CrossFit?
Once they highly technical exercises in a conditioning circuit. You're doing box jumps when you're completely gassed and out of breath. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
You show up on Instagram. And someone's making fun of you, which is that shouldn't happen. But I had someone that just joined my gym this week that was coming off of a CrossFit, and she couldn't stand it because the only places that, and again, we're generalizing right now, there's tons of fantastic CrossFit coaches and CrossFit gyms out there that do it right. But the problem is when you like are having 400 boxes open up every week, there is going to be some sort of a wide breadth of quality. There's going to be great coaches, but there'll also be bad coaches. It's like the analogy of, the doctor that finished last in his class, he still is a doctor, right? Like, do you want that guy or that person or that woman, or do you want the person that was at the top?
Yeah, there's a surgeon not that far from here, just like maybe like an hour away. And when I used to work in physical therapy offices, like if someone came from them, they were just like, I wonder what happened. Like he basically botches all of his surgeries, but he still gets people. It's really sad.
As long as you can still get your liability insurance covered, then you can still practice, I guess, if you can find someone that will have you there. But
back to the injury thing, I wanted to add, like your thoughts on after, like you talk about like what they're going to miss out on when they're in that sport, but what about afterwards? Like that's one of the things I think about too, like because at some point the sport's going to be over and they're going to want to start a different life.
Yeah, I think there's that, but I forgot to even mention, like I'm thankful that I don't know what the recovery process is like for tearing my ACL. I've never had any major surgery like that, but I think it's also worth considering. Like, it would be nice if this wasn't the norm, because no kid in middle school or high school should have to go through, invasive surgery. They shouldn't have to go through the recovery process, because it's not just affecting their sports, it's affecting their school life, and it's affecting their social life as well. And it can severely, affect their mental state and their mood, which could have devastating effects on a crucial point in their life. So, but yeah, I mean, even after the fact, like, who of us, like if you coach general population or you work with any kind of athletes, like that's why you really need to be really consistent with that health history form and make sure, even if they, didn't list anything, like I swear to God, this happened this week where I said like, oh, you didn't write down any injuries, so there's nothing wrong. She's like, nope. And I'm like, okay, I just want to kind of go down the list. I know no issues with your foot, no surgeries with your foot or your ankles or your hips, your knees, your shoulders, your spine, low back, anything like that. It's like, actually, well, I think I tore something in my ankle, like in high school. I'm like, that would be nice to know. Because like
they think it doesn't matter, and it does.
It does, because then what happens when they go through, a couple movement patterns, they go through a squat pattern, they go through a deadlift pattern. And like, I see that her ankle's not moving on the right side. Like that is going to be, again, it just helps me from having to go down this path of their history later on. Like it's stuff that is also potentially crucial to know from a programming standpoint. But it's also why even after you get that health history form, like you never stop evaluating, you never stop the eval process, because as soon as you have them do stuff with body weight, or if you have them load a movement, like you're immediately going to have things that pop up. And it's also, crucial to not freak out about it, but then, use that information and adjust as you move forward.
Yeah, definitely. We see that. We do a really thorough assessment process, and we see people. I can think of one off the top of my head right now where this lady's like, "Oh yeah, I've had a total knee, by the way." And we were already like into the alignment portion of the right at the beginning of the assessment. But I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like that would have been where you filled out on the muscular side or on the joint side."
Right, and I think one of the problems is that people this stuff is becoming so regular that people don't even think of it as, oh, well, of course that's not going to be a problem. Like, who doesn't get their hip replaced when they're 55? Like, who doesn't? Like, my mom got her knee replaced at 60. Like, that talk about an incredibly difficult surgery to come back from. Like, that the recovery process for that is brutal. But again, I think we just got to also make sure we don't minimize these things or normalize these things. Like, these are really crucial pieces of information we should still know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, getting back to you just a little bit, like what got you started? Like most of us guys, we got in because of bullies, or we got in because we wanted to be a big, strong guy. Like, is yours one of those three?
Oh, I mean, I was a really overweight kid. I was, ever since I can, almost ever since I can remember, I probably started noticing it around maybe 12 when I was in 6th grade, where, I was definitely I was the fat kid. I was the big kid in the class. I was always the slowest kid on the basketball team or the football team, or second to last in terms of slowest, but usually in that bottom rung. And I think there was some point in between between my freshman and my sophomore years of high school where I just had this moment, and I think we hear it a lot in general population. It's a lot of times what gets people to come to us, but it's a really powerful moment where you're just like, I'm not happy. Like, this is enough. Like, we need to make a change here. And thankfully I realized that back then and was able to drop, I think I dropped like 30 or 35 pounds over the course of a summer. And walking back into school, in my sophomore year, looking at as a completely different kid, like having all this confidence that I didn't have the year before, being able to go back on the basketball team and then be like in the mid tier of slowest kids on the team. Like, that was gigantic. And, that was a huge step up. I went from riding the bench on the JV team to being the JV captain. So it was not bad, but I mean, I got into this for very selfish reasons because I wanted to, I didn't want to be overweight anymore. I didn't want to be the slow kid. But that drove my fascination and my drive to learn more. I wanted to learn, all right, well, right now I'm worried about fat loss. What's the best thing I can do for fat loss? What should I be eating? What should I be doing in the gym? And I didn't really have access to much. So it was really just kind of stuff that you would, like common stuff. Like, I just ate less. Like, I ran everywhere. I rode my bike everywhere. I lived on mostly produce for a lot of the summer, aside from like turkey sandwiches. Yeah. But like, it kept going on to the next thing. Like, then it was sports performance. Like, I want a good vertical. I want to increase foot speed. I'm going to learn everything about vertical. I'm going to learn everything about foot speed. When I got into college, like, it was now my athletic career is over. I'm going to try to get big and strong. So it was Chad Waterbury. Like, I was reading Chad's stuff all the time, and I was doing his stuff. Then it was getting into Cressy's stuff. Then it was, spending a summer with Cressy, getting stronger, then interning there and like going through all of his stuff with Maximum Strength. And then it was obviously eventually led to Boyle's. But I think it didn't really hit me until the best part about my college program is they had you work with someone. So I worked with two. Nice. Yeah, I worked with two, basically fellow students in college. I worked with a female soccer player who was really great in high school, but 2 knee injuries, tore both ACLs, and like chronic knee issues. And because of all this stuff that I learned from Eric and learning from like going to seminars and learning from like reading and that was why I was looking up ACL stuff. I got obsessed about ACLs because I wanted to help her so bad. And like, it was getting her stronger and having her be able to play soccer again outside and not like have chronic knee pain, for days after. Like, that's where you start feeling like, oh, this is a powerful thing. Like, you can really help people with this. And the other was a student who was very underweight. Like, he had heart issues to the point where like he was like constantly getting checked up by doctors and stuff. But he absolutely had to gain muscle mass. He had to put on weight. So I had two like drastically different clients for my senior year of college. And that was the time where I got to really experience like you could have such a powerful impact as a coach. You can have even as just a personal trainer. Like, these kids, like college lives, kids, but like we're the same age back then. Those kids, their college lives were changed, and hopefully, for the better. And it's just something that is kind of addictive as a coach.
Yeah. So that's how you got started in was that what lit the fire, or did you know that you wanted to be a coach before that?
No, I was planning on being the strength coach for the Boston Celtics when I was in high school. That was the plan, but eventually I ended up not going through. I was actually going to go into being an athletic trainer, but I didn't go down that route because I wouldn't have been able to play intramural basketball and the schedule. I swear to God, that's what chose that path. Is like I wouldn't have. It was such an demanding schedule that I wouldn't have been able to play intramural basketball. And I was still so set on like, maybe I could walk on to this D3 team at Keene State College that I'm going to hold on to that dream a little bit more. But
that's funny. That's awesome. It's good. It's just how it works out. But yeah,
everything worked out all right.
Yeah. No, I think you're doing well. So, and then like now, what do you like? Who are you training? Are you training mostly athletes now? Or are you training mostly general population people?
Mostly general population stuff. And this has been a very interesting experience opening up a gym. Like, my gym's very small. It's 1,000 square feet. It's nicely furnished by Perform Better. I spent a lot of money on equipment. Probably, in hindsight, bought too much stuff, spent too much money to open up the doors. But I wanted to.
I did that. I think everybody does that. Everybody wants the 48 kilogram kettlebell,
But it's not only that, but like I'm someone that prepares. Like, I'm the one that always has the USB battery pack in his backpack. I always have extra cables. I have everything I need, no matter the situation. So I wanted to be able to train 8 athletes at a time if I had a team that I needed to split up into 2 groups or something. So I maybe overspent with that stuff, but mostly training general population and doing some athlete stuff. But the sports performance program has been the biggest challenge because it's also been very tough. I'm in a very, I'm surrounded by a couple small towns where athletics is not very important. It's kind of an afterthought, but there are some teams that are very good. Like the local girls soccer coach, like they're dominant, like they're fantastic. And he's like always trying to get them a little bit better. And he came into the gym, checked it out, brought some of the captains, they checked it out, and they fell in love with the place. So like they kind of already sold out my summer sports performance program. But aside from that, and if that didn't happen, like I still would have no one there. Like, I've been trying to get coaches in there for free open houses. I've been trying to get athletes to train there for free right now during the school year. And I can't get anyone. It's been a huge challenge, but for the most part, that is somewhat the case of just opening up a gym. Like, it is just a challenge to get people to recognize that you're there and that you can help them. So I'm not saying that's a fun challenge, but it's a challenge nonetheless. That is a reality of the business.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes, right? If you don't have clients, you can't be in business, and if you don't have clients, you can't help anybody.
Right, and it's like the best advertising you can have are the people that you work with. Like, you talking to the camera, or you trying to sell people in the program is not going to be very effective. But when I can have like one of my members, Tara, like knock out 3 bodyweight chin-ups,
that was awesome.
Yeah, like honestly, I think we're like 8 weeks into the program where she was obviously doing band assist stuff before that. And like my stepdad's been a great advocate of the program. So just like I have made them the stars of the advertising and the social media stuff, because like not only am I incredibly proud of them, but that's that's what real success looks like. Like that's the real results of training at this gym. Like it's real.
Yeah, and it inspires other people to see that too. Like if you just put you on your Instagram or your social media stuff, like
who gives a shit?
Hanging out with oil and shit all over you,
right.
hanging out crazy stuff. Everybody's like, I could never do that. But like,
I don't want to train with that asshole.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we get is like people will come in and be like, you know what I love about you guys? You put everybody on your social media.
Right.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, didn't make any sense to me. And I was like, they're like, well, you put every shape and size on your social media. And I'm like, fuck, wouldn't I?
Yeah, it looks like, well, I think this is a mistake that some people make in this business. And I'm sure we both know folks that have social media and they're trying to promote their gym or whatever it might be. And like, I'm totally sick of seeing the elite athletes. I'm totally sick of seeing the elite, the best of the best of the best. What I do want to see is I think for better or worse, I think it was a really good thing that I was incredibly overweight and my childhood was an absolute nightmare. Like it was an absolute nightmare of getting picked on and hazing and all that stuff. And even
it's the good and bad. It's the great things that came out of all this bad stuff.
Right. It was a really good experience. And I think and our industry is really weird right now, but I don't think, because there's very different views on this, but I think it is really good. Like Brett Bartholomew had like an interesting picture of this the other day, or like a graphic on this. But I mean, when you see CrossFit kind of on one side, and again, I apologize for generalizing, but CrossFit, a potential situation that you could run into is people like yelling at you, come on, Adam, do more. Adam, you're worthless. Come on, Adam, you're not even here to work today. Like, what are you doing? Did you even want to show up? Like, that kind of coaching mentality, which isn't necessarily just a CrossFit. And on the other side is, having like empathy, like, oh, Adam, like something seems off today. Are you okay? Did something happen at work? Like, did you sleep last night? That's kind of where I want my gym to be a little bit more, is like asking questions, being empathetic. And also, if I wanted to train professional athletes, if I wanted to go down that route, I had plenty of opportunities and requests to go down that path. But I find it way more, again, selfishly, way more rewarding to work with the general population and to work with those athletes that I kind of see myself in. Like, that's why, I mean, this is always, I apologize for going down this rant, but like some people I think are, and sometimes they don't know it, but I even saw it at Boyle sometimes, where some coaches would sometimes neglect the less good athletes, the athletes that weren't as good. They wanted to work with like the best athletes, or if they had a group of 12, you'd have a wide demographic of skill sets, and they'd spend more time focusing on the athlete that they could help clean 135 and not the one that was having trouble just keeping the bar on their shoulders. Where like I always would put an effort into, spending time with the overweight kid, the kid that kind of didn't want to be there and like would almost kind of push back a lot, and almost be like, some coaches would look at them and say like, that's a pain in the ass. Like, I don't even want to coach him. He doesn't want to be here. And I'd look at him and be like, all right, like, I know you don't want to be here, but like, let's just knock out 8 TRX rows. Like, you did so much better today than you did the last time. And you can tell you're getting stronger, you're making progress. And a lot of it is just because they're surrounded by great athletes. Like, they're surrounded, they don't feel like they don't fit in because they're surrounded by people that are doing these things and they look effortless and everything is a challenge for them. A bodyweight single leg deadlift might as well be like flipping a car for them because it's so difficult for balance, for strength, or they might be overweight. Like, all these things factor in. And like, I think it is really important to watch out for those athletes, watch out for those people in the general population group that, might not want to be there, but they need to be there. And if they don't need to be there, they'll at least get a lot of benefits. And I've had athletes that I trained 8 years ago at Boyle's who have walked back in the gym and they just look like completely different people because like they end up going to college and they end up like being adults. And I think everyone's had that. We're like, oh yeah, like, thank you for that summer back in 2010. Like, I know I was an asshole. But thank you for at least kind of pushing me and like, at least checking in on me to make sure that I was still showing up, because, I mean, that could probably be even more, that is more exciting for me than someone like going from AAA to the majors. Like, I want to help that kid get from the, like, not making the team to on the bench, or from on the bench to getting 5 minutes a game. Like that is a huge victory for me as a coach, because it's, like, that's kind of, I see myself in those athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of like, I mean, kind of going full circle back to what you said before, but being patient and then also like celebrating the small wins. I mean, like if you had somebody that just started, and they haven't worked out in like 2 decades, and they don't lose a pound in the first 6 months when they get on the scale, and they were too heavy to do a body composition test on, let's say. So you don't know how much fat or muscle is expanding. And they go, I just feel like I'm not making any progress. And it's like, well, you did show up 5 days a week for the last 6 weeks, and you haven't missed a day yet. I think we can call that a success.
Showing like like that. I say that exactly. Yeah. I think that is, you should always celebrate showing up. Like you should I thank everyone that comes to my gym, because also it's the best part of my day is I have a group in a little bit under 4 hours right now. I have a group at 6 o'clock. And that's the thing that I'm looking for. I'm enjoying talking to you, Adam, but the thing that I'm looking forward to most today is you got to sign up at Allied Strength. We'll talk there. But when they show up tonight and they're coming into work, and even though like it's a Friday night at 6 o'clock, I'm sure they've had a long week at work. Like they could just go home and, watch some Netflix or something like that. But instead they're coming from work, they're going to the gym, and they're trying to get a little bit better today than they did last time. And that's, there's awesome. Yeah, you can't undersell just showing up and coming into work.
Take that a step further. They could go home, spend 2 hours with their kids. Instead, they cut 1 hour of that down. Two okay hours with their kids. Instead, they come to you for 1 hour, and then they get another great hour with their kids, and that's why they do that first one.
Yeah, they're budgeting their time and they're sacrificing something to fit in training at my gym.
Yeah, you talk about like quality of life and like putting more experience into the years that they do have, like you were before, and like why we do this. Well, like that's why, because like this crazy little thing that's like, well, we have the knowledge to be able to do this stuff, and here, do this, this, and this, and all of a sudden they feel all this much better, and then they can go and do all that stuff with their kids. The most important thing in their life is pretty mind blowing stuff. Like you want to do a heart wrencher step into my body for 10 seconds when somebody says something like that, it's just crazy.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about at the end of the day. We all see coaches come and go in this industry, those that don't kind of stay for the long haul. And I think a lot of times is, sometimes people don't find the right population to work with, which is one thing. But on the other end, I think, some people kind of there's a certain demographic of coach that really just gets a lot out of seeing those little victories. And that's something like I will never get sick of seeing. I don't care what the population is, what the demographic like. It's just, and we also get to wear t-shirt and shorts to work, right? So that's also a huge. Like, I don't know why you trade that in.
Yeah, basically pajamas, and we don't have to sit at a desk. It's awesome. Absolutely.
I know, not bad.
Well, Kevin, we're at 30 minutes, man. It's been great talking to you. I could probably talk to you all day, but anything that you want to leave the Grit Gym tribe with before we jump off the call? I think this is a nice way to wrap it up there at the end too, by the way. That was nice.
No, I think that's really about it. I mean, I think, we can always find things to get down on in the industry. I do, regularly I'll see something that I don't necessarily agree with or I don't like. But, I'm always someone that would, instead of focusing on a problem, focus on a solution, take some time out of your day to try to figure out, all right, if I don't like how this coach does this, or I don't like this part of the industry, all right, instead of just like yelling about it on Facebook, or we could yell about it here on a podcast. All right, let's go do something about it. And
yeah, we were just talking about that before I came on here. I was just one of our coaches. I was like, you can't just like, if you just sit there and complain, all you're doing is bitching.
Yeah.
What's the solution? Like,
get out of the break room, stop arguing with your coworkers, instead go think about, be solutions based with this stuff, get off Facebook, get off Twitter, and go do something about it, because otherwise you're just a whole lot of talk, and you're also going to be so much less fulfilled that way, and you'll just never be in a good mood. Go do something positive, and you'll feel so much better. It's always better to take action than to just worry about what's going on.
Yeah, otherwise just wallow in your own BS.
Absolutely.
Real fun swim. All right, man. Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. You took the time out of your day, and the hurricane's going on where you are, and
Oh, thank you. I'm just glad we survived the nor'easter here in Massachusetts on Fridays. So thankfully, all the internet and the power stayed active. And thank you to you and for your audience for letting me hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, man. Well, we'll have to have you back sometime.
Anytime.
All right, we'll get off. But guys, please like, share, comment, and send this out to everybody you know. This is stuff that everybody needs to hear. I'm gonna hop off the call with Kevin, but this was fantastic. It's probably one of our best ones yet. Definitely competed with Boyle on this.
No way.
Go watch it, man. I think you'll see.
I did.
Oh, you did? Awesome.
Yeah, Boyle was awesome. He's always great.
Yeah, he definitely throws some. He's always got a little twist where it's just like, God damn it, I thought I knew all your stuff.
No, he's so real, and he is a systems man. Like, he is just so good at breaking this stuff down, so we can utilize just like these really complex ideas sometimes. So Mike's the best.
Yeah, when he says it, and you're just like, oh, that was.
And also talk about like one of the people that have been in this industry so long, but still one of the best people in the industry, like how he treats the people that work for him and how he treats others in this industry. I've been very lucky to know him over this last decade now. Oh man.
Well, even with the call, like I emailed him, he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I'm like, dude, I email people with like not even with zero following that never get back to me. And you're just Mike's truly one of the best people in this industry. And the only people that have a disagreement with him are the folks that sometimes spend too much time on Facebook and they need to get out and coach people. So yeah, they're just jealous. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for being on here, man. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Anytime. And let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Let's actually do this the other way around, maybe.
I'm good. Whenever.
Flip the table a little bit.
Yeah, it's cool with me.
All right. Well, we got our email, so let's schedule something and do something.
Deal. I will. Let's hop off of the live thing before we do that, though.
Deal. All right. Sounds good. All right.
All right.